If you're an older man and you masturbate, what I'm about to say might surprise you, even upset you. But I say it because I've seen the consequences firsthand, not in headlines or theory, but in the faces of men who walked into my clinic thinking everything was fine, until it wasn't. They were slowly losing the very thing that made them feel alive: connection, confidence, and control, without even realizing why. And too often, the root of it was a private habit no one ever taught them how to navigate in later life. I'm Dr. Mohit Khera, a physician specializing in men's health and vitality for over 3 decades. I've worked with thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, men who were strong, intelligent, and successful, but still left confused by what was happening in their own bodies and minds. Not because they were weak, but because no one ever spoke to them honestly about what aging does to sexual health, and how one natural behavior, if not approached wisely, could become a quiet threat to everything they value. Here's the paradox. Masturbation can heal, and it can harm. It can strengthen your erections, restore blood flow, even calm anxiety. But it can also numb emotion, reduce sensitivity, and disconnect you from your real needs. The difference lies not in whether you do it, but in how and why. In this video, I'll reveal 7 truths every man over 60 must know. Truths that could mean the difference between decline and renewal. So stay with me. What comes next may change how you see your body, your mind, and your masculinity forever. Before we begin, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you may never miss another honest, science-based health message designed for men over 60. And if this video speaks to you in any way, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0. Your feedback helps me serve you better. Let's begin with the first truth, because before we talk about habits, risks, or solutions, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your body after 60. This isn't about fear, it's about clarity. Because once you know the biological changes taking place beneath the surface, everything else will start to make sense. 1. The truth about your body after 60, what no one tells you. I've sat across from hundreds of men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, men who looked me in the eye and asked, "Doc, is this normal? Am I losing my edge?" And I always tell them the same thing. Yes, it's normal, but that doesn't mean you have to surrender to it. See, after 60, your body begins to rewrite the rules. Testosterone, your primary male hormone, starts to drop steadily, like a slow, silent dimmer switch. You may not notice it at first, but over time, it becomes harder to get aroused. Your energy feels flatter. Your drive fades without explanation. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's biology. It's your body asking for a different kind of care. But here's what no one tells you. Your penis, your erections, your sensitivity, they're all linked to something deeper. Circulation, muscle tone, nerve response. The tissue inside your penis is incredibly delicate, and like any muscle, it needs regular, healthy use to stay functional. When blood flow slows down, whether from age, inactivity, or disease, that tissue can weaken, even shrink. And self-pleasure, when done mindfully, can actually help keep that area active and oxygenated. It's not shameful, it's maintenance, just like stretching your joints or walking to keep your heart healthy. Still, most men don't treat it this way. They either avoid the topic out of discomfort or rely on it compulsively without understanding what their body truly needs. That's where the danger lies, not in the act itself, but in the absence of knowledge and awareness. So if you've been wondering why things don't feel the same, why it takes longer, feels different, or doesn't satisfy like it used to, it's not in your head, it's in your blood, your hormones, and your tissues adapting with time. But what happens when a good habit becomes something that holds you back without you even knowing? That's what we need to talk about next, and it's something far more common than you think. 2. When a healthy habit turns into a hidden risk. I want to share something I don't usually talk about in medical journals, but it's something I've seen again and again behind closed doors. A man walks into my office, usually a bit hesitant, and says, "Doc, I thought I was doing something good for myself. So why do I feel more tired, more isolated, and somehow less like a man?" And I know right away, He's not talking about anything extreme. He's talking about something very private, something so common it's often overlooked: regular masturbation. What started as a healthy release has become a ritual of escape, a quiet habit that's taken over more space than it should. Masturbation, in its essence, is not the problem. In fact, it can be incredibly beneficial for circulation, hormone balance, and mental clarity when it's practiced with intention and balance. But the moment it slips into the background of your daily routine as a reflex, not a choice, it begins to change things. I've had men tell me they can't fall asleep without it, can't focus during the day unless they get it out of their system. And that's the moment we move from benefit into risk. Because here's the truth: any behavior, no matter how natural, can become unhealthy when it starts replacing what you truly need: connection, emotional release, intimacy. You might not even notice it happening. It doesn't scream, it creeps in. And one day you realize you've stopped reaching out to friends, lost interest in hobbies, or pulled away from your partner without knowing why. That's not because you're broken, it's because your brain has found a shortcut, and it's choosing comfort over growth. But what if I told you this isn't just about your mind or emotions? What if I told you that over time, the very act meant to keep you strong and vital could be silently weakening your most important physical systems, starting with the nerves and tissues that give you pleasure? Let's talk about that next. 3. The hidden physical consequences. Most men ignore. You know, one of the most heartbreaking things I hear from older patients is this: "Doc, I can't feel like I used to. It's like the spark is gone and I don't know how to get it back." And they say it with a kind of quiet frustration, almost like they're blaming themselves for something they never saw coming. But the truth is, it's not their fault. No one ever told them that what they thought was helping might slowly be working against them, physically, not just emotionally. When masturbation becomes too frequent, too intense, or done with too much pressure or speed, it can start to wear down the very systems it's meant to support. The nerve endings in the penis are incredibly sensitive, and with overstimulation, they can begin to dull. It's like listening to music at full blast every day. Over time, you stop hearing the subtle notes. That loss of sensation doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual. One day you just realize it takes more to get aroused, or it's harder to stay firm, or your climax isn't what it used to be. There's also the issue of smooth muscle inside the erectile tissue. This is the hidden engine behind strong, lasting erections. If that muscle weakens from lack of proper blood flow or chronic overuse without recovery, your erections will suffer. And once that starts to fade, confidence takes a hit too. I've seen men withdraw from intimacy not because they don't want it, but because they're afraid they won't perform. But there's more. This isn't just about sensation or strength. The pelvic floor, your body's foundation for sexual and bladder control, can also weaken if you're always in the same position. Sitting, rushing, tense. It matters more than you think. And now, perhaps more than ever, it's time to talk about what all of this is really masking. Because sometimes, it's not about pleasure at all. It's about pain. And it shows up in ways most men don't expect. 4. The emotional toll. The real reason you might feel empty afterward. I want to tell you something I've learned after decades of listening to men, not just examining them, but truly listening. Many of them didn't come to see me because of pain or performance issues. They came because something just didn't feel right anymore. They felt off, numb, disconnected. And after a few honest questions, the truth came out. They were turning to masturbation not out of desire, but out of habit, out of loneliness, out of a need to escape emotions they didn't know how to face. It's more common than you think. You feel stressed, tired, maybe even a little anxious, and this habit offers a quick hit of relief. For a few minutes, you feel calm again, you feel in control, but then it fades, and you're left with that hollow feeling, that silence afterward, that moment when you look around and realize nothing's changed. You're still alone in the room, still carrying the same weight in your chest, and that's when it becomes clear. It's not really about sex at all. Masturbation, when used as emotional anesthesia, can create a pattern that's hard to see until it's already taken root. Instead of picking up the phone to talk to someone, instead of walking out the door to clear your mind, you retreat again and again, and slowly your world gets smaller. I've seen men who stopped going to church, dropped out of bowling leagues, even pulled away from their grandkids, not because they didn't care, but because something inside them felt off, unmotivated, ashamed. And the cruel irony? The very act they turned to for relief was quietly feeding their isolation, not by intention, but by repetition. If this feels familiar, you're not broken, you're human, and there is a way out. But before you can change the pattern, you need to recognize the warning signs, those subtle red flags your body and mind are already trying to show you. So let's take a closer look. 5. The warning signs you can't ignore. I've always believed that the body speaks long before it breaks, but you have to know how to listen. Over the years, I've seen men walk into my office with questions they were almost too embarrassed to ask. Questions like, why do I feel drained after? Why do I need more just to feel the same? Why do I feel like I'm losing control of something that used to feel so natural? And behind every question was a quiet fear that something had changed and they didn't know how to fix it. The truth is, the signs are there. They're just subtle at first. Maybe you notice that after pleasuring yourself, instead of feeling satisfied or relaxed, you feel tired or even empty. That's not just in your head. It's your nervous system being overstimulated, your dopamine levels crashing, your body telling you it needs balance. Or perhaps you find yourself doing it not because you're truly aroused, but because you're bored, anxious, or trying to avoid something heavier beneath the surface. And then there are the more physical signs: decreased sensitivity, difficulty staying firm, the creeping need for more intense stimulation to get the same result. These changes don't happen overnight. They sneak in. And if you've ever felt frustrated with yourself, wondering why your body isn't responding the way it used to, it may not be age. It may be a habit that's grown too strong, too automatic. Ask yourself, is this habit giving back to my life, or is it quietly taking something away? Is it helping me feel more connected or more distant? From myself, from my partner, from the world? But here's the good news. Awareness is the first step toward change. You can absolutely restore what's been lost, and you don't need to stop being sexual to do it. You just need to approach it differently. So how do you take back control without giving up what makes you feel alive? That's exactly what we're going to explore next. 6. How to reclaim the benefits without the risks. Here's the part that most men find both surprising and deeply encouraging. You don't have to give it up. You don't have to deny your body, your desire, or your need for release. What you do need is to change your relationship with it, because the goal isn't to eliminate pleasure, it's to elevate it, to bring it back into alignment with your health, your energy, and your self-respect. I've worked with men who thought they had ruined their sensitivity, broken their desire, or lost their ability to connect. And you know what? In nearly every case, once we made a few key adjustments, things began to shift, sometimes within a week. It doesn't take some miracle cure or a stack of pills. It takes awareness. It takes intention. Start by slowing down. Most men don't realize that rushing through pleasure actually trains the nervous system to expect less. Gentle, slower touch, especially with natural oils like coconut or almond oil, can restore sensitivity, not just physically, but emotionally. Next, change your posture. Stop doing it slouched in a chair or hunched over in secret. Try lying down flat or even standing to ease pressure on your pelvic floor and reconnect with your full body. Deep breathing is also essential. Oxygen supports blood flow, calms your nerves, and brings you back into the present moment. So you're not just chasing release, but experiencing connection. And finally, be mindful of what you're watching or imagining. Porn, especially the extreme kind, rewires your brain to expect fantasy over reality. Give yourself space to explore your own imagination, your memories, your breath, because that's where real intimacy starts again. You don't need to stop. You need to return to balance. And when you do, you'll be shocked at what your body remembers. The power, the control, the calm. But if you really want to reset this cycle, not just for today, but for the long run, then what you do over the next 7 days could change everything. Let me walk you through it. 7. Your healing plan. How to start today. I've seen firsthand what happens when a man takes back control, not just of his habits, but of his health, his energy, and his sense of self. It doesn't require drastic changes or rigid rules. It starts with a simple reset, a 7-day commitment to yourself, not to be perfect, just to be present. And every man I've walked through this process has told me the same thing afterward. I didn't realize how much I had lost until I started to feel it coming back. So here's how you begin. For the first 2 days, stop all stimulation, physical and visual. No porn, no quick escapes. Just notice how you feel. Write it down if you can. Pay attention to your thoughts, your urges, your mood. This is about reconnecting with what's happening beneath the surface. On days 3 and 4, try mindful touch just once. Don't rush. Use natural oil. Breathe deeply. Stay present in your body. Focus on the feeling, not the finish. This is about retraining your nerves, your muscles, your brain. Let it be gentle. On days 5 and 6, replace the urge with connection. Call a friend, step outside, go for a walk. Do something that reminds your nervous system there are other ways to feel alive, ways that leave you energized, not empty. And on day 7, reflect. Look at how you feel, not just physically, but emotionally. Do you feel calmer, more confident, less reactive? If so, keep going. If not, that's okay too. It means your body is waking up, your awareness is shifting. Healing is never linear, but it always begins with attention. This 7-day plan isn't a punishment, it's a gift. It's a way to reclaim everything you thought aging had taken from you, your clarity, your control, your spark. But there's still one more thing you need to hear, something that ties all of this together and reminds you what's truly at stake. Let's bring this full circle. 8. Doctor's final message. Speaking to the heart. After everything we've talked about, your body, your habits, your mind, your healing, I want to leave you with this. You are not broken. You are not past your prime, and you are not alone. The truth is, what you've been feeling isn't weakness. It's your body trying to speak to you, trying to get your attention. And now that you've listened, now that you understand what's really going on, you have the power to make a shift. We've talked about how your body changes after 60, how masturbation, when practiced without awareness, can quietly shift from helpful to harmful. We've seen how it can numb the very feelings you're meant to face, weaken the nerves and muscles that support your masculinity, and crowd out the deeper connections you truly crave. But we've also talked about how to take it back. Through mindful touch, through balance, through a 7-day reset that puts you back in the driver's seat. I've seen men in their 70s and 80s regain sensitivity, energy, and confidence, not because they stopped being sexual, but because they started being intentional. And you can too. You deserve that. You deserve a body that feels good to live in, a mind that feels calm and clear, and a heart that feels connected, not alone. So let this be the moment you stop hiding, stop guessing, and start honoring yourself fully, without shame, without fear, and without apology. Your masculinity doesn't end with age, it deepens. And now, you know how to protect it. If this message resonated with you, share it with another man who needs to hear it. And remember, healing always begins with honesty, and you just took the first step. If this video gave you clarity or made you feel seen, please take a moment to like, share, and leave a comment below. I read every single one. Your voice matters, and your story could help another man feel less alone. If you believe in creating more honest, respectful conversations about men's health, consider supporting this channel with a small donation. Every bit helps us reach more men who need this message. Subscribe if you haven't already, and let's keep building a community where truth, healing, and strength come first, no matter your age.